Speaking of the former president, Donald Trump is just hours away from hosting an event in Florida that will play a major factor in helping him decide who his next vice presidential nominee will be. At least 6 contenders are attending the Republican donor retreat with names such as senators like Tim Scott, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, and governors Doug Burgum and Kristi Noem, who's been in the news a lot in the past few days.
Yeah, remember that? That was just 2 weeks ago. And the fascinating thing about that is Donald Trump gathers in Mar-a-Lago all these people that are apparently on the short list to be VP, and he subjects them to a brutal roast, mocking them, implying that he barely knows who some of them, like Doug Burgum, actually are. And they go through all that because they have to have any chance of becoming VP, but they should know by now that just because they made it through that round doesn't mean that he's even gonna remember them a couple of weeks later. And I say that because he apparently has a new shiny thing that he's interested in, someone who wasn't even on that list, and that is Senator Tom Cotton, who apparently is now considered a top contender. He said privately that he views Cotton as a reliable and effective communicator in cable news interviews. He praised Cotton's Army service. I like that he appreciates that Cotton was in the Army, whereas generally when he talks about soldiers, he considers them suckers and losers. I guess this is the exception. He likes the fact that he was a fellow Ivy League graduate. Trump, of course, went to the University of Pennsylvania. Cotton attended Harvard for both undergraduate and law degrees. And he also shares an affinity for conservative populism. The conservative populism that often denigrates attendance in higher education, even though all the people that they choose for these positions went to Ivy League schools. Super weird how that works. In any event, Trump has previously said that he is not going to announce his final pick for VP until the RNC, but he particularly wants someone who is not going to create distractions, not going to, start up a scandal or say something insane. He wants to be the only one doing all of that. And Tom Cotton potentially can avoid that. Tom Cotton is not a Carrie Lake. He's not a Marjorie Greene. He's not necessarily going to say things that lead to, negative news cycles. Although notably, he has formerly endorsed a national ban on abortions after 20 weeks, which in this election in particular probably won't be all that popular, especially coupled with Donald Trump's own statements implying that he would be supportive of federal bans on this. He also, many people will recall, back in 2020, wrote an op-ed calling for Trump to deploy the US military against social justice protesters. And I would also like to remind people that just a couple of weeks ago, he went on Fox News and he told people that if protesters block the street, you should murder them. You should literally take matters into your own hands and throw them off the Golden Gate Bridge into the ocean. If they glue their hands to your car, you should rip their skin off. This is the guy who is comparatively less likely to generate scandal in Tom Cotton. I personally think an additional thing that makes him an appealing VP pick for Trump is that while, and I said this on TDR this morning, many of these people, the Tim Scotts, the Marco Rubios, Elise Stefanik, they're toadies. If Donald Trump wants to do anything, no matter how crazy, no matter how fascistic, they're not gonna stop him. Tom Cotton will be encouraging him to do those things. He wrote that op-ed. He wants martial law. And so I think Trump is gonna find that very appealing. Someone who is going to, sort of provoke him to follow his worst impulses. But Cenk, what do you think?
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that all of a sudden I got Tom Cotton in the lead. So I want to build on that in a second, but I just want to give an important caveat to the audience. Brian Hughes is a senior advisor to Trump, and he actually said something that's true. So that's breaking news when a Trump advocate says something true. He said only President Trump will rule a contender for vice president in or out, and anyone claiming to know who he will choose is lying. That is true because Trump will probably make the decision 5 minutes before he has to, and he'll probably do it based on whoever talked to him last. So that's how idiots make decisions, and that's usually how Trump makes decisions, and we've seen it in the past. Now, having said that, I see why Tom Cotton is surging, right? So first of all, Trump plays this game, and I found the name of it the other day. I was referring to it as chasing sausage. But it's actually Boar on the Floor. It's from a scene in Succession where Logan Roy, the Rupert Murdoch character, puts sausages on the ground and makes people grovel and try to grab the sausages with their mouth while oinking like pigs. And that's what Trump does to VP potential candidates. So they so thoroughly debase themselves, but he does it in public, right? And so that's the rigmarole he's going through now with the Tim Scotts and et cetera. But as I read the story about Tom Cotton, I thought, and Nikki Haley, because Nikki Haley now all of a sudden back in, she says she's voting for Trump. Trump says maybe she could be part of the administration somehow. And I remember thinking, really? Because he definitely hates Nikki Haley. She has been disloyal, but yet he is not ruling her out, and he's not including her in the bore on the floor yet, right? So it made me realize, oh, of course, there's a whole bunch of establishment donors who are saying to him, you must pick an establishment VP. So don't pick Marjorie Taylor Greene or Kristi Noem or any of these loons. Pick a neocon like Nikki Haley or Elise Stefanik or Tom Cotton. And so when you think about it from the one thing that usually tells you how which direction things are going to actually go, the donors, then it all starts to fall in place. Why are all these establishment guys who MAGA actually kind of hates, even in contention, right? And Tom Cotton is, in a sense, the perfect pick because he checks off the establishment box. He's a neocon, but he's also militaristic in the way that John described that Trump loves, and also has no bounds in the way that Trump loves. If Trump goes to Tom Cotton and says, hey, Tom, I decided we're not going to win the next election. We're just going to end democracy. We're going to roll out the tanks, and we're going to still call it America. It'll be funny. And I'll be president for life. And then when I die, you'll probably be vice president, but you guys will knife each other. Are you in? And Tom Cotton would be like, oh, I thought you'd never ask. Yes. So whereas Nikki Haley might pause and others might pause, Doug Burgum might pause, Tom Cotton's like, yes, 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 yes. So fascism combined with establishment, combined with neocon, combined with subservient to the boss, and all of a sudden, Trump might be picking Cotton.
Very nicely done, Cenk. Very nice. I like that. Or yeah, and he's not going bad bleach, bad bod, or big bleach. Definitely not. I'm not sure Trump and Cotton in the same television frame could actually occur. It might be so toxic that the electromagnetic spectrum would actually repel it. Can you imagine those two side by side? They're both so caustic and toxic. The venom that comes out of them, they might cancel each other out. I don't know. Pence was this kind of like, you had contempt. He was so boring and so just empty. But Cotton actually it sounds more extreme and better articulated. And as an attorney and someone who's like Ivy League educated, the guy he believes, he's so in belief of his convictions are. It's very disturbing, the dynamic duo of those two knuckleheads.
Yeah. No, you're just swinging me. I'm almost, so one of our sponsors is Poly Market, and they have a prediction market basically where, people vote with their dollars. And that Tom Cotton bet, now all of a sudden it's growing on, because the article mentioned what Brian was mentioning, the New York Times did, about how Tom Cotton's Ivy League educated. He's a Harvard fascist. And so you might think like, what Trump's MAGA, why would he care? MAGA doesn't care about Ivy League credentials. They probably dislike Ivy League credentials. No, remember, Trump's an elitist. And so he's like, he's right out of central casting, went to Harvard, and Trump thinks he went to Penn. So he thinks, oh, okay, two Ivy League guys. What he doesn't know is his dad set up an elaborate ruse where he where he pays off the professors, and he's like, oh, pretend he got a D. Just keep moving. Okay. So anyway, so that's another reason why it might be cut.
I think one downside is that in terms of the branding, like you have to imagine the yard signs, and there's just something about Trump Cotton that sounds like a business that went bankrupt back in 2007. Like it doesn't seem like a winning thing. But anyway, we're gonna take a short break.
I will say here in Georgia, I know you're trying to go to break, but I already am starting to see the Trump signs now, more and more. But the Trump cotton sign is horrific to me here for some reason. Yeah.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.